Did your Chicago VCs in the first couple of rounds give any pushback about, now the Silicon Valley big guns are coming in? Like, was there any kind of conflict or friction there at all? Or was it
I mean,
validating to them?
I think it was largely validating, right? There's been some minor annoyances with, you know, us like having still controlled board seats, like the founders still control the board, and there's been positions where someone may have had to come off and been a board member, become an observer. But like, look, I think ultimately, Lightspeed hadn't invested in Chicago since Grubhub's Series B or Series A or something, and like Kleiner hadn't invested in, who knows if they ever had before. So there is, I think it's a really net positive to start getting, these top tier VCs. Like September 20th is our next board meeting, and we have 7-8 of the best VCs in the world like having to fly in because they're observers or they're and they're there, and ultimately they want to go meet the other companies in Chicago and they want to network, and hopefully that's something that we can be that tentpole company for Chicago, like Snap has been in LA.
Yeah. All right, one more question. When you have a round that's so hot and you've got so many people, so many great investors competing to get in, do you take that opportunity to, you mentioned like you still control the board. Like, what would you advise maybe other founders who have a hot round to kind of use that heat to get best terms or valuation or board control? Like, what was top of mind for you?
Like literally in our Series B, it had to be everything, right? Like it had to be the perfect deal or we weren't doing it. And again, you can only do that by like being in a great cash position, and also like having something with such obvious external traction that like people are literally fighting over it to get into it. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to like really like doing a deep dive and saying, okay, who do I actually really, really, really want to work with? And can I go to them and say, we want to work with you, but we need you to, this is what it needs to be, right? At the end of the day, like no deal gets done unless you sign the term sheet, right? So like we sat there and we negotiated everything, and, something like in this case, I think we had, one of our term sheets was outstanding for like a month, right? And ultimately, like every day that we didn't do it, we didn't lose leverage. We gained it because more people were coming in. Up to the day we signed, I had a firm, come in and offer a huge Hail Mary term sheet to us, like the day that we were signing, the other one, right? And
with crazy terms, like crazy good terms.
Yeah, crazy good terms. And I know like I could literally still be out there and like it would have just gotten better. So ultimately you just have to weigh like, did you find the people that you work with? Can you close the deal, and can you get it done in a timely manner so you're not sitting out there, on Sand Hill Road, for 10 months.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to get stale and lose the momentum. Then I've seen it all collapse, unfortunately. Right. Like, anything you would do differently? Any last words of advice? Anything we haven't covered? Any additional tips? Or have we've covered a lot on this call already. Anything?
Yeah. One thing that I've really enjoyed is making sure that I'm getting to know investors, like when we're not raising, like obviously, like, as I mentioned, we have never like formally been fundraising. We have had these periods where like we reactively have had to, but ultimately, taking the time to get to know investors when you don't need anything is really valuable. And the ones that actually care will continue to get on planes or to get on calls or to check in. And, I think about, in our current round, Spark, Bain Capital Ventures, Churning Group. These are firms that I'd been developing relationships with for up to a year before we ended up working with them. Churning Group, for example, is one that we would have loved to have gotten in the Series A, but they write like $10 million checks, and we were doing like a small. We were going to do like a $5 to $7 million round, but I got to know Mike Kearns and Jesse and the team over there, and same with Bain Capital and Spark. Like Bijan and Kevin Tao were getting to know me, for a while, just through, one of their scouts that had invested in us, and same thing with Bain, with Jameson Hill and Ajay and the team over there. So I would always recommend that as a founder, you should probably be spending, 5 to 10% of your week all the time, like doing some type of investor conversations. And I think also when you have constant conversations constantly, it really continues to have you keep your sword sharp. I didn't have to go and like practice my pitch for 2 weeks before a road show. Like every single day that you're on a podcast, or you're closing an employee, or you're doing a company all hands, like I think the best fundraisers are ones that it just is literally part of their natural process. And that's one thing I would highly recommend. Take the time to get to know the investors when you're not fundraising, because then ultimately, like, they're going to have that much more conviction in you and what you're doing, and you're going to have a lot of conviction in them.